Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Alhamdulillah, as we all know, one of the purpose of the gathering, especially in these mornings, are mainly not to want to say something and want to listen, is more to actually to practice upon now the spiritual the aspect, the amal, and the muraqbah. That especially those who have embarked upon the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and spirituality and ascension, and to continue with the journey maybe at a different level than before, and to basically learn and benefit from, inshallah. As we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us for a reason, and jinnat is nothing but to worship Him. So really this command in itself, this guidance in itself in the Holy Quran, it should be sufficient for a believer, for a person who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the final day. For them it is sufficient that they should now engage. The Islam is complete. The rules and regulations and how to worship and how to go on the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to please Him is complete. So there shouldn't need be any other motivation or any other driving factor except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, and we should get on with our purpose to worship Him and to achieve our objectives, our aims in life. But despite that, we as a human being, we need a reminder, we need motivations throughout our course of our days, weeks, and in our life as well. So as a blessing, as a mark of blessing, and also it shows the level of the closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially our mashayikh and our teacher have also then taught us and shown us the way how spiritually one can also benefit and see some of the realms of the unseen, so as to increase our yaqeen, increase our motivation to what? To also practice upon deen, to practice upon the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So ultimately everything boils down to this. There is no escape to it. That everything else is either helping towards this cause or taking away from it, which is the sins and the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if someone understands this, then he or she does not need much motivation. He or she does not need much encouragement as such. He knows or she knows that what's their purpose now, and it's a matter of getting along with it. It's like those who go to college and university. They have a goal in mind, maybe the career they want or a certain pathway they want to go and to achieve, and they're very dedicated and they get on with their work and studies and carry on and complete. So likewise, we should be like this, especially our fellow brothers here and sisters who are watching at home, that we should be motivated now, that especially our teacher and the mashayikh have shown us the way and the path. And our ultimate objective, they actually even told us what that is. I'm sure many of us, like ourselves, when we first came, yes, we knew about Deen and Islam, but maybe we didn't know what was the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us here. And that is to actually to please Him, to find a way, to follow a path away so that we please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ibadah, to following the sunnah and so on. And that's ultimately why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to remind, and the final messenger and the final guidance was given to remind us about this purpose, which was reminded us already in Al-Mi'arwah. We took covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So especially in this gathering of ascension, I don't intend to carry on, give any lecture or talk. It's just a reminder for myself and others that we can analyze ourselves, that especially in this gathering that we're doing, mashallah, muraqabah and the ascension journey, we should be doing that in our salah, in our daily practices. There are some objectives being set and laid out. And just to gauge upon how are we doing against the objective is important to refresh as well. Because that in itself serves as a motivator as well. So, for example, in the gathering of the ascension, that we know that one of the objectives is to see and taste. Now, this could be at a different level, of course. Someone at the thought level, someone at the imagination level or spiritual level. But whichever level you are at, no one is deprived. Everyone can practice upon that. And it is only when someone practices upon something again and again, then more doors are open for that person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses that person more and more. The trouble in this day and age is that people, like myself, that our attention span and our you could say the kind of dedication is very short and short-lived. We want instant results. Everything's instant. Everything's on the phone is instant. We always bombarded. It's the instant gratification. We want everything instantly. For example, like the kind of stimulus that we get through the phone or through talking to someone. You just want it there and then. And sometimes we become frustrated that, I've been doing this for X number of months or years, and it's not really happening. And then the other side is those who are happening, they have experienced, they have lagged now. They say, I've seen and I've tasted, that's it, I've done my objective now. But really, you haven't. If it was the case that this was means to an end, then really you should analyze yourself and think, has your salah really now improved? Are you actually offering salah with sunnah and jama'ah? Is your salah improved? It should be a motivator to take away. Remember that this is set a scene that we are bombarded by many of the attraction and distraction of this world. We constantly seeing through our phones, through TV, through interaction, through work, through life experience. So automatically there's a pull towards it. Against that is only Deen in Islam and the belief in the unseen. So there is logically speaking, the balance is tipped over on the dunya side because we're engaged at a practical level. So one of the purposes is to have this experience so that there's some kind of redress, some kind of balance, that not only your senses are exposed to dunya and what it contains, but you have some experience of the akhirah, or of the hereafter, or of the unseen, so that there's a pull towards that side, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So really then, if someone has experienced or experiencing, then you should analyze how your life is going. Has it improved in any way? Improved in terms of relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, improvement in terms of relation with your teacher, with our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to the people as well at large. That it cannot be that one is now experiencing spiritually and going at different muqamats and levels, but his relationship with the family, with the close ones, with the relatives is still the same, if not worse. Then there's something wrong. Yes, there is some kind of blockage is still there. And only that we will find out at a later stage. And also this becomes a test as well. Just because you are seeing but your life is still more or less the same, don't think that you've kind of escaped or found a loophole how to escape the norms and the adab which is set by the Mashayikh and the purification course and so on. And somehow we've gone to the third stage or the advanced level. It all becomes a test and means that one day we may be tested as a result of it. So always should analyze against this, i.e. that our belief, for example, one of the first objectives that we know is that our, you could say, conviction in terms of the belief of the unseen, it should be stronger. Some kind of personal relationship you have. Our relationship with the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is not just at the belief level anymore, or the level of intellectual ability or faculty, that you have now developed some kind of spiritual, emotional attachment to them. It becomes a specific relationship. So I'm saying why emotional attachment? Because for some they say I don't have a spiritual relationship yet. That's fine. Some kind of it should be at least emotional, personal attachment to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his sunnah and so on. And then thirdly, it's very important, again like I said about your relation with the creation, Not only should be compassionate and so on, which is obviously one of the objectives, that your whole mindset should be different now. That you're not going, for example, like they say in English, tit for tat, that he or she has done this to me, I'm doing this to them in return. Or they've done this to me, or I've done this favor, X and X for them, and they're not returning favor. You should be adopting those sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That always thinking, as soon as you meet a person or persons, that how can I benefit them? So you're not thinking what I'm going to get in return, but how can I benefit them? And how can I save them from harm? And so on. We should bless them. If they want to harm us, we want to bless them. If they cut ties, we mend ties. If they want to deprive us, we want to give them more, and so on. So these are some of the attitude we should have now amongst the creation. And usually it's not the public at large. It's usually very, very close people. The people that we day and night spend time, work together, travel together, and so on. These are the people sometimes we have issues with. The fellow team member or brother in tariq or in departments or whatever it is. So these are the things we should really analyze. And obviously the objective is to have the closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And daily we should think that we have some kind of goal that we want to achieve and carry on working towards that. So purpose of this gathering is, like yourselves know, that it's not about just to do the lataif explanation and so on. You should be able to do this already, with terms of to transfer, find our teacher, and go to some of the muqamat and experience. So, for example, this month was Dhul Qa'dah, which is just passing now. Nearly, these are the very significant things happen in this month. So, one of the significant things, if you study the seerah and the history, is the Battle of Trench that took place, and how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions suffered the Dug Trench. And there was imminent attack from the enemies from all sides. There was a confederation of enemies to attack the state city of Medina and the Muslims therein. So obviously we know from the hadith, from the seerah point of view, we have heard from the ulama, we've read books and so on. But now, inshallah, in this gathering, after transfer and with our teachers present with them, inshallah, we should visit those scenes and those places and experience, first of all, like how they felt, what they went through. Like the month on end, they didn't have hardly any food to eat. And nowadays you can find on the internet that someone's done a replica of how big the trench was. And truly it was, a huge, humongous task. And they hardly had anything to eat. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to tie not just one stone, 2 stones around their stomach just to keep upright. And they dug for weeks and weeks on end. And what for? Really, if it really boils down to, is so that people then like ourselves in this day and age and in the future, that we receive this message and Islam and guidance, and to know what is the ultimate and true objective and purpose in life is. So inshallah, you should go after the transfer and journeying, visit those places and learn lesson from. But also, like our teacher said, it's not just about sightseeing and visiting. We could do this now, go to Medina Sharif for Umrah. The tour guide, he takes you to all these places. So not only they can physically see these places, the masajids are there, and the road where the trench was dug up and so on. But that's just sightseeing. Here, specifically spiritually, when you do visit those places, number one, take lessons from it. What lesson have you learned? Maybe 1 lesson or 2 lessons. That you visited, maybe the blessed companions, even if someone can do ziyarat of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, take a lesson from it. That's the main thing. One, take lesson from it, and then secondly, that how can I apply this into my daily life now? How can I apply this into my daily life? Even could be 1 lesson or 1 thing that you've learned from this. Or how can I rectify my ways? My ways are going wrong now. I know I should be doing this, this, and this, but I am not. In fact, despite all the blessing, my life is still going the other way. Then that should be first impetus, first you could say motivation that now, okay, from now on, seeing some of the scenes of the sacrifices of the companions and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that and then me I am claimed to be one of the follower of the Ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how can I not actually have, at my level, leave some of the evil ways, have some sacrifices in my life, and really follow that path of the Mashaykh which is laid out in front of us. So these are the some of the things we should do. I'll take lesson, first of all, experience it, take lessons from it, and then how can I apply that in my daily life. So until, inshallah, for example, next week or the next time you do your personal gathering or personal ascension amals, then inshallah I can take another lesson from this as well and benefit from. So especially in this level nowadays, now we should be thinking like this. Not only seeing and tasting, which is good, alhamdulillah, but then now also then how can I benefit from? Obviously with guidances and things, we know the adab is with guidance and things that we shouldn't act upon. We should rely to our teacher and then inshallah they will then advise us what to do. But in the gathering here, for example, when the teacher says and one should relay, then that in itself serves the purpose of if you're not sure if that guidance is correct or otherwise, then obviously our teacher and our ustaz, obviously they mention and explain. And then that way, then if there's any confusion or anything that you're not sure of, then that gets cleared as well, inshallah. So I think it's nearly 10 to now. So inshallah, we're going to begin. So like we should do is at the beginning, we should do obviously make our niyat, do the the thoughts of the three muraqabahs of humbleness, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and reliance. Then do the protection askars, do the protection askars, and after that the start of askars, which is the Bismillah, Durud Sharif, Astaghfirullah, Durud Sharif, and then La Hawla Wala Quwwata Illa Billah. And then inshallah I can begin the process of Lataif. Spend, like I said, 1 or 2 minutes each, on each one. And then after that, inshallah, once you transferred, first thing we should do, we should look for our teacher. And this is now, again, it's not a complicated concept. Teacher, alhamdulillah, we see them every week, every other day. They are sat in front here, delivering lectures and so on. So it should be easily, we should be able to imagine, we should be able to find the teacher in this respect. So if it helps, one can just simply imagine, if you cannot, the teacher obviously sat here. I mean, I'm here now, but imagine teacher sat here and you're approaching them. And then from then on, inshallah, wherever they take you or wherever the journey takes, especially indicating towards the Battle of Trench and Khandak, then inshallah you can proceed there as well with the Mashaykh, inshallah. So inshallah, now turn on the lights off, inshallah. So inshallah, just to quickly refresh our intention and our thoughts. Also seek forgiveness even before that all the weaknesses and mistakes we had done, at least during the last week until now, and to rectify, especially these are the last days of Dhul Qa'dah, and then Dhul Hijjah is coming as well. The blessed months and the sacred months are passing. And then they obviously have the three thoughts in mind as well. And the protection adhkars, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم قل هو أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له أحد قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق من غاسق إذا مالك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. For those who know, obviously, and those even if you're new, it is important to go through the lataif. And if you then find yourself naturally transferring, which is fine also, but for everyone, those who are quite, mashallah, prolific, doing well, or new to this, that you should, even if you're quite prolific in transfer, many of our brothers and ustads here, they can't do so by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's still important and it's good to do the lataif practices. Why? Because as we learn and we know that through the lataif practices, there's a kind of internal or a very light or subtle purification takes place as well. Especially in what we've been doing or the previous last 24 hours or the last week, that it serves as a purification. So many of the things and thoughts and so on gets purified and rectified through the process of the 7 colors that we know. And each color obviously has meanings to it, which we're not going through for now, but these are the colors are there for a purpose, for a certain level of purification at each level, inshallah. So inshallah, after the protection adhkars, then the startup adhkars we do, for example, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and then Astaghfirullah 3 times, Durood Sharif 3 times, then La Hawla wa la Quwwata illa Billah 3 times. Then inshallah, we start with the first latifa, which is the white one, the preparation one. Then after that, then you go back to the red one, yellow, orange, yellow, green, light blue, dark blue, and the white one again. Then obviously purification and transfer to the spiritual body, find teacher, and then journey Khadija, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa wa atubu ilayk. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa qayyum wa atubu ilayk. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa qayyum wa atubu ilayk. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آله إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آله إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما على إبراهيم وعلى آل. السلام عليك أيها النبي. السلام عليك أيها النبي. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. اللهم يا ربي بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيني وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة. اللهم يا ربي بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيني وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة. اللهم يا ربي بجاه سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيني وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. لا حول ولا قوة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So inshallah start with the first one and begin from there. It's important as well. The breathing exercises are important. So inshallah take deep breath in with your nose and deep breath out with your mouth. All these little and subtle steps are very important and there for a reason as well, inshallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك لا حول ما شاء الله. Inshallah, we spend brief time now just to give feedback and questions regarding this aspect from the brothers here, inshallah, from the right. So especially I would like to encourage those brothers who normally don't relate or are shy to relate, that I'd like you to take opportunity first and relate it. And also if you have any questions or queries or especially difficulties, then inshallah please do. And if I can, I'll mention. If not, then we'll find out from the teachers and we'll respond to you, inshallah. And also, like we mentioned earlier, that whatever also the scene briefly explained, obviously there are so much detail into it, but briefly explain the scene and what was it, and then what lesson you've learned, and what have you derived, what have you benefited, what lesson you've learned you can implement in your life, inshallah. So Ji, Jabir, go with the mic. So especially brothers who normally don't, please do, and everyone else as well. So I'm not neglecting anyone. Just one by one, inshallah, please. Yeah, anyone, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So after the transfer, I saw her sub, and I approached them, and they said that we will take you to the Battle of Handak today in Medina Sharif. So once we went to Medina Sharif, it was sort of an aerial view, and it was it was circular, and where the Prophet ﷺ and other the blessed Sahabas they were digging, and they stated that it's better to have one person that's sincere working alongside you than it is to have 50 munafiqeen, because when when it gets hard, then the munafiqeen around you will start to make excuses, and when they make excuses, then it will not get done. Just like here, when the Prophet ﷺ was physically digging the trenches, and there was getting betrayed by the munafiqeen. The second aspect was that when the Amir or the person in charge gives a task, it should be fulfilled to the utmost best of the people around them. And then it sort of faded away from there. And then the lesson I personally took from that was, first of all, embed and be sincere to the message in my own personal life, and any sort of tasks that are given to me, then I shall try my utmost best to fulfill them with the best of sincerity, and not be lazy in that regard.
Is that all? Okay, Jazakallah. Yeah, I mean, many of what he said is self-explanatory, in a sense that one has to be sincere and serious. The whole religion, din, is about being serious and doing the task and amals as well, mashallah. Inshallah. Brothers at the back, Brother Amir or anyone? Kamar, anyone, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There's one aspect that I want to ask is doing the type, the light blue colour. For some reason, I'm not quite sure why. I always seem to struggle with that one. But after that, once we transferred, found the teacher, I went to the scene, saw the blessed companions digging the trench, and then myself started to help with them. And as I saw was present with us, and then they could see all the companions were dressed in white, and they were also they had so much devotion, and they had so much love for the Prophet ﷺ that they were prepared to risk their lives to help them, to protect them. And we went, we looked, I could see from the opposite side where the enemy was, and they were huge in number. There were so many of them, and there was very little companions at the time. They looked behind us, and we could see like a tent, and surrounding the tent was companions. And then I thought to myself that, look what these people are going through. And then on a personal level, I thought that whenever we come through any sort of affliction and problems, become overwhelmed, and that these blessed companions are going through so much difficulty, but they're not, their iman's not wavering, or they're not letting go, or they're not getting what you might say, they're not becoming complacent, that they had faith and yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would help them. That was it pretty much.
So again, mashallah, it's a good lesson from this, that enemy and the forces are great in number, but you can see from the Sahaba's point of view that even then they were not wavering or have the attitude of giving up or saying that this is too much, I can't handle it. They relied upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then stuck to the tasks. So likewise in this world, outwardly or internally as well, sometimes many things happen in our life that we get overwhelmed due to pressures, due to attractions, distractions, and and then maybe we do fall or have setbacks, and we think, well, it's getting too much, I think maybe it's not for me. At that moment, then you should recall this lesson and this experience, and this from the aspect of the seerah, how Sahabas Ajmain, despite all the impediments and difficulties, they stuck to their task and carried on with their mission, inshallah. So we should do so as well. So it's not about number game. Now, you might be here 15, 20 of us, or maybe hundreds out there, doesn't matter. It's not a number game, it's about what we want to do and what we do, and then Allah will reward us based on that, inshallah. Okay, Jazakallah, thank you. Anyone else from this side? And then slowly move on. Brothers, anyone in the back? No?
Assalamu
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
We connected with the Lataifs, and then we met Hazrat Sahab, who then took us to the old style Masjid Nabi, where we saw that there was a gathering of people, and there was Rasulullah who was leading the transfer, and they were sat with the blessed Sahaba Ikram. And Sahaba Ikram were also doing the Lataifs in like the same style, and their souls were leaving their blessed bodies. But something strange then happened. We saw that the Sahaba Ikram's souls, when they were leaving the bodies and they were going towards Allah spiritually, and Prophet ﷺ was taking them, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, they were receiving a different type of knowledge because their levels are different from other Sahaba. And then this knowledge was put into it was like a leather case style book. There was like a different type of knowledge, but then this knowledge was destroyed, which was in a book. And after that, then we saw a camp, a circle camp also, like the other brothers. And in the one of the encampments where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was, we saw that their mind was made of pure nur and light, and that the thoughts that were going inside their mind was directly from Allah Azza wa Jal. And that when the war happened, many of the angels were sent down as warriors and also helped the Sahaba and Rasulullah in the war. And what we learned from that was to have the prophetic mindset, and that even when going through tests and difficulties, just to have reliance on Allah and rely on Allah for the outcome. That's what I personally learned from outside.
With any guidances, or is that what okay?
No, that's all.
Okay.
No.
So first of all, mashallah, going back to previously brother as well and yourself, is lataif is important, as you can see from experience. Either A, obviously purifies you, or B, what happens is it takes you even further, enhances you in your journey. So it serves many purposes. So in the case of brother was saying about the strong in the light color blue, wasn't it? So I mean, these are like I said, especially for the last 24 hours or last over the week, whatever you've been doing or not, then naturally that gets highlighted as you practice each one. So light blue usually represents, because to do with the near your throat and tongue, is how you utilize the tongue, as well as it indicates and because near your tongue and you feel thirst there, so indicates your yearning or you thirst what you have. So obviously you have, mashallah, thirst for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and close to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and following the path. But sometimes, temporarily for that week or for that day, maybe your thoughts or your thirst was diverted to something else, maybe worldly or other needs. So then that gets rectified so that you're still focused about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, secondly, because indicating towards your tongue, that sometimes obviously either we violate the tongue, or also sometimes it's important to speak and also stand up if there's a injustice of other people, not yourself necessarily as well, especially for other people as well. Then at that moment one should not be shy, and with the due respect and adab, whoever it is, then do explain and mention, and not to be shy because I don't know what to say, I'm embarrassed. So that's also indication that one should practice this. Not all the time. Sometimes you don't get the opportunity all the time. Whenever you do get opportunity, you find yourself in that situation that your comments or your input is important. Then you should, if it's someone else's rights is violated, or you think it's not fair, comment has been made, and it hurts or affects the other person, then you should say something in return in a nice way. If someone abusing, then you don't abuse back. You just say in a nice way, advise them, whatever, inshallah. And so lataif are important, like what Tariq is saying. And obviously companions, they were very close to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and some of the sacrifices they've done, they got special blessings as well, which Allah knows better, Allah knows best. But going through each one is important, and sometimes when these are rectified and purified, then they're replaced with the special blessings as well. So remember, the purification course, first of all, the first aspect we learn is how to avoid sins and purify ourselves. But even if you go to the tongue, there's a second aspect to it. It's not just 7 organs, it's actually 14. Anyone know this? So first of all, first thing you do, you negate all the negative aspect coming into your body, and like organs, sins of the organs, eyes, ears, tongue, and so on and so forth. And then what happens is you don't stop there. Then there's actually a training part of the purification course where you learn that how to then utilize them positively, so that it helps you to go more close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on. So it is actually practical. You go to day by day, like you do with the negative ones. Avoid that. You learn positively how to help someone, or how to advise someone, and what do you do with the eyes to bring blessings or learn lesson from. So there's a positive aspect to it. Likewise, the lataif, these are the things as well are present, and he gets, you could say, more enlightened as well, mashallah. Both the things, mashallah, yourself is self-explanatory in the sense that yes, we should always relate to our, asatizahs, and especially our teacher, not to take lessons and ourselves. That's what goes with everyone, even I'd say myself as well. because the safety lies in actually having someone else who can trust, who rely upon. And then inshallah after that, then whatever advice you do get, then inshallah we should implement. And it becomes like a fresh motivator for that day or for that week as well. Alhamdulillah, maybe I've been slacking or going off track, and this helps me to become stronger again, inshallah. Tina, inshallah, anyone from here? And then this side, and then finish, inshallah. Brother Rauf, you want to mention?
Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikum
I went to see Hadith Sahib, and then from there I went to, they took me to Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Baratullah. And from there, they sent me down in the Mizar, and they said that the lesson from Khandak is that you are fighting an enemy, and in your case, you're fighting Shaitan. And they showed me all different houses all over, and said, look what's happening in these houses. There's shayateen everywhere in each house, and they're around the children, around the adults, and they've got them fixated on their gadgets, whether it's the phone or it's the laptop or the TV. And you can see they're like looking at the phone, and there's like this white kind of thing which is pulling them towards it, and it's like they can't get their eyes off it. And shayateen are around them, and they're smiling and they're laughing and they're stroking their head and they're making them enjoy it. And in each house that's happening. And then Hazrat Sahib Rahmatullah alayhi, they show me that then there's when there was the eclipse, and when the eclipse happens, all the shayateen in all the houses, they're all rejoicing and really, really happy. Look, we're winning. And from there, then they take me back to the Madar again and said, look, when you come to these, when you come to us, you don't come to us just to look around and sightsee. You're here for a reason, to take back to this world. In the same way, it said when you go to these Majlis, you're not there for just for your own self, where you get swab and you just go home. Yeah, I enjoyed it. You are there to take this light and help others. Then they said that look, the light, they showed me Hadith Sahib, and they mashallah full of light, and said look, they're taking that light and spreading it. Then they said that look, the people around here, they're not doing that. Even in their own homes, if you look at your own wives, especially the women, they're struggling because you're not delivering that at home. And whereas wherever you are spiritually, you should try and bring them as well. But you kind of disregard them and think, okay, let them look and do the household chores and look after the kids, and I'll go on. Then they said, I think about Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how upset they'd be with what was happening in the world with the Ummah. And then I go to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they're really upset. And then I kiss their forehead and kiss their hand, and they kind of smile. And then I'm upset as well. I have my head down, and they get my pagadi and fix it and say, look, come on. And then they hold my shoulders and they say, you need to be strong and go and fight and help my ummah. Then from there, that was then I came back to Hadith Sahib, Hadith Dabag again, and said that look, now you can go now.
MashaAllah, good. So yeah, like yourself said, first of all, with these things, especially the devices, like you were saying, the devices themselves, they're not actually good or bad. It's how we as human beings utilize. So like the mashayikh and the teachers, they also use phones and devices all the time, but using it as a force of goodness to, obviously to benefit others and so on. So the potential is there with every human being, that although with the influence of shayateen, we're using it in a negative way, that if we train ourselves, then utilize these phones and the device and laptops, and like the brothers are doing here, for example, in a positive way, they benefit the humanity as well. So one thing, obviously, we cannot go around every house and tell them straight away, they will not listen. So one thing we could do is, first lesson is to act upon ourselves, that when we do using this device, that we're using positively, not, for example, in a negative way, and then slowly then start to teach our children, our wives as well about this, and the dangers of not using too much. So then one can establish that slowly over time. Then they can go to your friend's house and the family's house and tell them about these things and how. These are things that are all symptoms. Why people are wasting time in their phones and so on is because that's something they see all the time in their face, at their face as well. All the time it's there and it gets dragged into it. We slowly have to show him the alternative, the other way, what's out there. Yeah. So that's what Islam teaches, and these gatherings, especially of the this ascension and so on, is slowly invite them, expand their horizon, like they say, open their mind and say, look, there's more things out there in the world rather than what you see in front of you all the time. So that way, then, like we mentioned here, for example, like our teacher says, you have to also redress the balance, and so that by themselves, because it's not because yourselves are saying something, oh, don't do it, oh, so I can't do this because my father's saying no, or my brother is saying no. Is they have this instilled inside them that, look, I can use all these things, but not in a negative way, but also I've got a mission as well to work towards, not just waste my time in these things. So that's why, like I mentioned to you in the gathering like this, engaged in a dawah in a more organized way, because inshallah, if you do it on your own, then what happens is then one can exhaust themselves too much, and then themselves feel demotivated. I've tried, people are listening. So there's adab and so on, how this is done in terms of dawah. And inshallah, if you do get engaged, then inshallah it can reach to the masses as well, like each household, and so on, inshallah. So it's important, inshallah, as well as doing yourself in your own household, be an example of, and also then through the dawah process it can reach to others, mashallah, like the yearning there, mashallah, is shown to you, and how to reach them as well. Shayateen, obviously they will try their bit because that's what they're sent for, but at the end of the day they're not also that strong as well. Many people are assigned every wrong thing to Shayateen. We have our part to play, and once we decide for ourselves that we're not going to do this or we're going to do this, then Shayateen have not much influence over as well. So it's a two-way thing. Yes, Shayateen makes us do things, but remember, they're not that powerful as well. They're weak. We're still in control of, we still have a willpower. And if we go on the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and support will come from them. So we're still in a stronger position than them. So it's not that Shayateen win over and it's a losing battle. It's not. That in itself is a trick, or I could say a deception. That Shayateen's weak, that they're destroying us, they're taking us away. No. They're not Pied Piper as such, taking all the children away, but at the same time we have the control and authority, and we are much stronger than them in that case, inshallah. So inshallah, so that mashallah, good, jazakallah for sharing, and mashallah, you're already engaged in activities, so inshallah, stay engaged, and if you need any advice and help, then discuss with Ustaz. Obviously, Ustaz Imam Qais here, others are here as well, myself, and inshallah. Take anyone else left here? It's nearly 7 o'clock now, so. Regarding any other questions or any difficulties as well? Brother here? So, as yourselves know, obviously on the 24th beginning, that we're having another, mashallah, blessed opportunity to spend time with our teacher and sit in a retreat and learn from. I mean, so one or two people have asked me that, so is it level 2? I said, it doesn't matter what level it is. For us, that we should be happy that, alhamdulillah, we're going to spend time with our teacher, and spending time is never a loss. You're always learning things and benefiting from ourselves. So I would encourage, if you have time, or make time, take your time out as well, inshallah, and attend. And with this spiritual journey, one thing I would like to say is, I think teacher has mentioned, Hazrat Sahab has mentioned here and there, that really, alhamdulillah, we're blessed to have this, like, mashallah, these experiences. But you could say the biggest blessing for us, it should be, and it is, that once we transfer and we see ourselves, with the teacher, that in itself is the biggest, you could say, journey we have taken, and it's as though we've reached a destination. Anything else happens after that is a blessing upon blessing, nur ala nur, light upon light. So really, if someone can also develop that kind of relationship, that you go to the teacher, mashallah, like brothers have mentioned, you go to their presence, and then whatever they take you, then alhamdulillah you're happy, and then you benefit from. So that in itself is a big lesson to learn and to work on as well, inshallah. And it's not hard with everything in life, inshallah. Like you do physically, like when you go for mashwara and you ask how I would like to do this, and they advise you, and say, as you say, I'll follow. So spiritually, you can do this as well. Go to them and they advise you, and then take you from there. So then you develop the spiritual relationship with the teacher as well, which is important, mashallah. Okay, ठीक है, जज़ाकल्लाह, सुब्हान अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, सुब्हानक अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्ला अंता, अस्तगफिरुका व अतूबु इलैक, ला हौला व ला कुव्वता इल्ला बिल्लाह। Okay, जज़ाकल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैकुम।